Jay Bilas' bracket sucks. Mine is better.
There we go.
Now, I was at the gym last night getting my workout on because, like you, Dustin, trying to lose some lbs, trying to get my my Jason Kelsey inspired bod on. So Jay Bilas was doing his bracketology, and I tried to find out what all of his 68 winners, or however many winners there are, 36 winners are. But unfortunately, I couldn't find them all. If I wanted to find out who they were, I would have to go behind the paywall on ESP on the 4-letter network plus.
Oh yeah,
whatever. But I found an article that gave us his Elite 8, and he has in the Midwest, Purdue and Tennessee; in the West, Arizona, North Carolina. In the South, Houston and Kentucky; in the East, UConn and Illinois. The commonality between all 4 of these picks, and he picks Purdue, Arizona, Houston, and UConn to go to the Final Four. The commonality for all these teams, they're either number 1 or number 2 seeds.
He went pretty chalk.
Boring.
Yeah.
Boring. So I'm just going to give you my what I'm going to do is give you my bracket. I'm not going to go through the entire bracket. I'm going to give you my Sweet 16 picks. My Sweet 16. In the East, I've got UConn, Auburn, BYU, and Iowa State. And again, this is somebody who had not paid attention all year to college basketball. I'm just going by gut feeling. I'm going entirely by gut feeling. I'm also going by the fact that you cannot trust the Big Ten in college basketball. And I have BYU beating Illinois in the second round. So, and because again, your BYU is basically men because they're on mission for 2 years with the Church of Latter-day Saints. So you got basically men playing against young boys. All right. So in the West, I have UNC, Alabama. Well, I was just say Bama, Baylor, and Arizona. And again, I went 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can't say too much about boring, but that's just how I have it. In the South, I've got Houston, Duke, Kentucky, and Marquette. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I have some upsets in there, so bear with me. I'll get to the upsets, first round upsets in just a minute. And in the Midwest, which is going to be the wildest bracket I think of all, Utah State, McNeese State, Creighton, and Tennessee as your Sweet 16.
I love those Creighton Blue Jays.
That's gotta love Big East, man. The Beast. The Big East. Long live the Big East. That's why I have Marquette in the Sweet 16 as well. So another Big East team. My Elite 8 is UConn, Iowa State, Bama, and Arizona. Houston and Marquette, Utah State, and Creighton. I think Utah State could be one of those mid-major. Utah State isn't really. I wouldn't count. You could argue that the Mountain West is their group of five conference. So you could argue they're a mid-major, but I think Utah State could go all the way to the Elite 8 because I have them beating Purdue in the round of 32. Because again, you cannot depend on the Big Ten in basketball at all for these brackets. So here's my final 4. UConn, Arizona, Houston, and Creighton.
Oh man! All right, gotta love those Creighton Blue Jays. But I was partially hoping that you were going to say Alabama, just so that I could say I got too much Bama in me.
Roll damn Tide. And my national championship game is UConn and Houston, and I got Houston winning the national championship. I think I predicted Houston to win the national championship last year too. Unfortunately, they did not go to they did not go to the Final Four. UConn is the reigning. I'm sorry. UConn is the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of college basketball in 2023. But in 2024, they're going to go to the national championship game. But I have Houston beating them. I think Houston is just. Look, I went to another gym story. Last Saturday at the gym, right before conference tournament play started, they absolutely smacked the taste out of Kansas's mouth. And
Oh
by the
man.
way, I have Kansas. I believe I have Kansas losing in the first round. Yeah.
Ooh.
So let me give you my upsets. So I've got in the. I don't have many upsets in the East. I don't think I have any upsets in the East. I have no double digit. I have no double digit seeds going to the next round. However, in the West, I have Grand Canyon University, the Fighting Antelopes, beating St. Mary's, a 12
Oh,
being a 5.
that always happens.
I've got Nevada being Dayton, the 10 being a 7. In the South, I've got James Madison, a 12, beating Wisconsin, because again, you cannot depend on a Big Ten team to go far in the round of 64. I do want to give a shout out to my buddy James Prush, who's my former pastor at my church, one of my churches I used to go to. He's a big Nebraska fan. I have them beating Texas A&M in the round of 64.
Okay.
But I also have, let's see, who's my other 10? I've got whoever makes it out of the round, the play-in round. I got them beating Florida. That's a 10 being a 7. Sorry, playmaker. I've got McNeese beating Gonzaga. That's another 5-12 being a 5.
Ooh.
And I've got Samford beating Kansas, a 13 beating a 4.
Wow. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
you got some upsets
So,
in there. Now I have
some upsets.
I have to ask. Yeah, they happen every year. It's part of the beauty of this tournament. But I have to ask, how much of these upsets? You said you were going completely off of gut feeling, but did you also factor in the scoring system in this bracket? Do you get extra points for the upset?
No, you don't.
Oh, okay. See, when I used to run the bracket, I used to do what was called like the Fibonacci scoring system or something like that. Whereas if a like a 10 beat a 7, you got a point for getting the win right, depending on the round, because I also had increasing points for each round. But you got a point for the, say it happened in the first round, you got a point. You also got added onto your total the difference between the seeds of the upset. So if a 10 beat a 7, you'd get 3 additional points. So that was, I was wondering, because I always factored that in. I'd try to get a little mathy with it.
It's just straight up wins.
Gotcha.
Just straight up wins.
All right.
So, but yeah, I'll just say this is my last thought about Jay Bilas' bracket. It's boring. It's boring. I know he's the guy who is a supposed expert at that 4-letter network. He's been there for years. Blah 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 blah. And I'm sorry, if you have 3 1 seeds as your final four, it's boring. It's boring. It's old hat. I don't care. I know college basketball is your thing, but man, you gotta have some excitement in there with some upset, with some unexpected teams like a Creighton. I just, from what I understand, again, I'm just going by. I will say this: I did do a little research on which teams could possibly upset and go to the round of 32. A lot of analysts were high on Grand Canyon. They were high on McNeese. They were high on Samford. They were high on James Madison. So I figured, all right, let's roll with them, because weird things happened last year in last year's March Madness. Sorry, March Mania. Copyright. Nobody expected Florida Atlantic to get to the national championship.
Yeah, that was not expected at all.
No. So, yeah, Jay Bilas, boring. My bracket, exciting.